So, I don't know about you, but I've been hit with spiritual warfare left, right, and sideways lately. Been praising God through the storm, and I know I'm going to level up here. I know that's part of it. You know, you go through levels when you're following God. You go through levels of maturity in the Bible. And the evil one is constantly trying to knock you down so that you don't continue to follow God. Because he wants to take you out of your purpose. He wants to take you out of your belief system with God. He wants to separate you and God. That is his goal. And if you allow him to win, well, you lose. And if you stay close to God, eventually the evil one will back down and move on to someone else. And it takes a long time. It doesn't always happen quickly. As a matter of fact, it takes a long time. The closer you get to God and the closer you get to your purpose, the harder the devil hits, right? You know, you'll be going along and everything will be good for a while, and then all of a sudden everything goes haywire. Everything goes haywire. Your car breaks down, or your house gets a leak, or, you know, just one thing after another. And that's how the devil tries to defeat you. He'll slam you with one thing after another, trying to get you to curse God and not to praise God. Because if you're going through these struggles, you'll be like, "Oh God, why are you letting this happen?" When it's not God at all. It's the evil one. And we people tend to curse God instead of praise him through the storms. And that's what the devil wants. He wants you to curse him. But if you praise God through those storms, it gets you through those storms a lot easier. And you get blessed for doing so. But it's tough to do sometimes, especially when you're getting hit and it gets so overwhelming. And it does. It gets overwhelming sometimes. You know, I spoke to someone here recently who was telling me that they had about 10 funerals in a few months' time, lost a relationship, struggled with their business, and everything would just hit so hard. And it was everything they could do to get through that situation. Those are spiritual warfares. Those are spiritual warfares. Those are when the devil is trying to keep you from reaching your destiny. You can tell the harder you get hit, the bigger your destiny. The harder you get hit, the more anointment you have from God. Because the devil don't want you to reach your destiny. First of all, because if you reach your destiny, you're going to do something great for God. And he don't want you to do anything great for God. Because he's trying to derail God's plan, which he can't do. Even if you were to take and walk away from God, God would find someone else to fulfill that destiny. But why would you walk away from God? If you walk away from God, you're completely unprotected. Completely unprotected. You walk away, you are completely unprotected, and everything is going to hit you. And after a while, nothing will hit you. And you will feel so numb and horrible. And eventually, when it comes time for the end time, you will not be going to heaven. And like I told you, I don't know if you heard me talk about, I think it was Zechariah. It talks about the end times very vividly. And it talks about how the gates of Jerusalem will hold the people who went to heaven. And outside of the gates of Jerusalem will be the people who did not choose God. And their skin will be melted, their eyes will be melted in their sockets, and their tongues will be melted in their mouth. And it will be because of a plague. And it sounds like a nuclear fallout, is what it sounds like. But the Bible calls it a plague. And they will struggle with having water. And whether or not they worship God in life, they will be worshiping God then, because they won't have a choice. If they do not come to worship God once a year at the Feast of Tabernacles, I can talk, and their water will be withheld, and more plagues will come upon them. Could you imagine more plagues worse than that? And if whatever city they're in, if one person doesn't come to worship God, the whole city gets another plague and the water gets withheld. It talks about that in Zechariah. It's crazy how detailed it is. And yet most people pay more attention to Revelations than they do Zechariah, which it all goes together. But I do believe that most of Revelations, not all of it, but a good portion of Revelations is spiritual. It is what's happening in the spirit realm. Now, Zechariah is telling you in detail what's going to happen. And I don't know about you, but I'm going to worship God now because I want to go to heaven. And you may not believe in God. You may not want to worship Him, but eventually you will, whether you want to or not. Eventually you will believe in Him, whether you do or not now. Doesn't matter. God still exists, whether you believe in Him or not. And this is going to happen, whether you believe it or not. There have already been 2,000 predictions in the Bible that have already happened out of 2,500. That means we don't have many left. And if that 2,000 of those predictions have already been predicted, and there's 500 to go, I think if I were you, I would be thinking very hard about whether or not God exists. I don't know what other proof that you would need to know that God truly exists. I mean, 2,000 of the predictions in the Bible have came true. That means 500 more we have to go, because there's 2,500 predictions. And if 2,000 of those predictions have already came true, what more proof do you need that God was real, that God is real, that God exists, that the Bible is true? I don't know. I think some people refuse to believe because they're afraid. But I would be more afraid of not knowing God than knowing God. Because once you get to know God and you have a deep intimacy with Him, the knowing of Him is no longer scary. And everything that's going to happen is no longer scary. You're no longer afraid because you know that you're going to be okay. I am a true believer because I met God. I actually died and met God. I came back, and I know for a fact that God exists. And if I could share this experience with as many people as I can so that they know that God exists, I am. This is just why I do this ministry. And if you are riding the fence and you don't know whether or not God exists, maybe you need to pick up the Bible and start reading it and check it out for yourself, and don't just take somebody's word for it. Look it up for yourself. Look at the facts yourself. Do some digging. I think it would surprise you. And I think it would change your mind. Anyway, I hope this blesses you and you have a blessed day.